Not many serial killers can boast of going viral over and over for years after their death, but Ted Bundy sure can. You know he's probably up there in the great beyond bragging about his constant virality to his serial killer friends. Did I say up there? My bad. I meant down there. We all know Bundy didn't make it past those pearly gates. Still though, if you're a little curious about how Ted Bundy, the serial killer, a man known for doing some of the most deranged things any human is capable of, just refuses to stop being culturally significant, well, you come to the right place. I'm your host, Greenman, and this is the Murder Encyclopedia. Walk with me. It's the late 1980s. Bundy, one of the most notorious serial killers of all time, has just been executed by the electric chair. For a time after his death, Bundy was the talk of the town as expected. It's not every day you hear of a person with a serial killer body count of over 30-something. That's not to say Bundy is the most prolific killer ever, he just had a knack for catching the spotlight. When I say Bundy was the talk of the town, I mean they just couldn't get enough of him. You'd think he was a pop star or a celebrity and not a cold-blooded murderer. But as the years passed, his name gradually faded from memory. People moved on to other things, to other killers, and for a while, if you knew who Ted Bundy was, you were probably a true crime enthusiast like myself. That's not to say Bundy completely vanished. He still remained in the public consciousness. A true crime documentary here, an expose there, and the cycle continued. But sometime in 2019, Ted Bundy experienced a sudden and explosive resurgence, making him once again a viral sensation. How on earth did that happen? It's honestly confusing. Personally, I wish I could give you a straight answer, but it's just not that simple. So let's take a journey into the various events that took place around that time, and maybe, just maybe, the key to unraveling the mystery of Bundy's sudden and kind of unsettling popularity will be easier to understand. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but it's just a theory I'm working with for now. Bundy is certainly not the most popular serial killer these days, but it's hard to deny his increased popularity. Although you could say his popularity from the 1980s never waned. Well, I think he fell off a bit, and 2019 was the start of his resurgence. Why? Well, first off, sometime in January 2019, Netflix released the spine-chilling documentary series Conversations with a Killer, the Ted Bundy tapes. Let me tell you, this wasn't your usual true crime documentary. It was a well-crafted production, informative and entertaining. You'd think you were watching a thrilling crime drama. Oh, but these events were all too real. The never-before-heard audio recordings of Ted Bundy on death row are more than enough proof of that. I recommend giving this one a watch if you want to hear the killer's own words in his chillingly calm and collected manner. It's enough to send shivers down your spine. Hashtag not sponsored by Netflix. The docuseries also features expert commentary from law enforcement officials, journalists, and even Ted Bundy's ex-girlfriend. Oh, by the way, speaking of Ted Bundy's ex-girlfriend, his mainstream popularity has never been sunshine and roses for her. But let's put a pin on that one for now. I'll get to her later. Netflix's Conversation with the Killer provided us with a deeper understanding of Bundy's motives, his methods, and the impact of his crimes like very few had ever done before. So of course it was a hit. But that would just be the first drop in the tidal wave of Bundy fever that was to come. While people were still reeling from the Ted Bundy tapes, Netflix released another piece on the serial killer. But this time, instead of a docuseries, it was a movie. The movie Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile was released 3 months after the Ted Bundy tapes. We're talking back to back here. Okay, so let's be fair. Not every movie Netflix releases is worth spending your time on. Not naming any names, just stating the obvious. This movie, though, this was not one of them. When I heard the way people were talking about the movie, I had to see it to understand what the whole hype was about. And let me tell you, it did not disappoint. The movie focused more on Bundy's personal life and his relationship with his long-term girlfriend, Liz Kendall, played by Lily Collins. It was pretty much like viewing Bundy from the lens of his girlfriend. When I heard people say that Zac Efron was the person cast as Bundy, I was a little skeptical. I mean, it's Zac Efron, the High School Musical guy. The guy that was in Baywatch? But I have to admit, Zac Efron knocked it out of the park. He perfectly captured Bundy's charm, charisma, and dark side. I'm almost ashamed to say there were times I forgot I wasn't watching the killer himself. That's not to mention Zac Efron's physical transformation to look like the man, and the way he could switch between charming and creepy. One minute he's smiling and charming, and suddenly his eyes would go cold and his expression would turn sinister. Amazing. Let's not forget that the release of this movie was trailed by controversies. Some people complained about the sympathetic portrayal of Bundy. People raised a lot of dust on the issue, which inspired even more people to see the movie. In the midst of all that, Liz Kendall, Ted Bundy's former girlfriend who was portrayed in the movie, was having a hard time dealing with Bundy's mainstream popularity. She even had to go for counseling to deal with the emotional toll that his popularity had taken on her. I mean, it's not exactly easy to have your name linked to one of the most notorious serial killers to ever walk this planet. In one of her interviews, she disclosed that earlier when she heard the movie planned on exploiting her and Bundy's relationship without her consent, she was furious and even considered suing the producers of the movie. However, she later consented and even collaborated with them. We can only speculate why she changed her mind, right? Why don't you leave a comment down below and speculate with me? Although, to be fair, she probably didn't think the movie would be famous enough to send her into counseling. At this point, everyone wanted to get on the newly refueled Ted Bundy bus. How else would you explain the 2 additional movies on the man that dropped in 2021? Ted Bundy, The American Boogeyman, and No Man of God were just 2 movies in the already populated category of Ted Bundy movies. In case you didn't know, there are 9 of these bad boys out there. Don't ask me to rank how good they are though, because I refuse to suffer through some of these awful movies. But let's not forget about the sheer amount of literature written about this man. They're still writing them too. According to Google, the most recent one is this book, Ted Bundy, by Carly Lawson, which came out in 2022. Now, I'm not the most prolific reader, but I think one of the most popular books ever written about the serial killer is The Stranger Beside Me, Ted Bundy, The Shocking Inside Story, a book written by a true crime author named Ann Rule, who had a close relationship with Bundy. Ann Rule's book on Ted Bundy was published in 1980, and it was an instant hit, selling millions of copies months after its release. A book based on her first-hand account of a notorious serial killer? Yeah, no surprise it was a hit. They even adapted it into a movie in 2003. The story isn't over yet. There's one more piece of the puzzle I haven't talked about just yet, and that's the internet. In the wake of all these movies and book releases, people on social media were buzzing on and on about Ted Bundy. And guess what? It wasn't just his horrific crimes that had people talking. No. It was Bundy's striking good looks that caught everyone's attention. There were thirst posts and fan cams made about this man, and they were all over Twitter and TikTok. The Ted Bundy hashtag on TikTok had nearly 500 million views. My God. The fascination with Bundy's looks and supposed charm became so intense that even Netflix had to speak out against fetishizing him. Their official Twitter account had to remind people that there were literally thousands of hot men on their service who were not convicted serial murderers. But of course, that's exactly why nobody was thirsting over them. Now allow me to propose my theory for why Theodore Robert Bundy has seen a resurgence in his virality. I think, well, Bundy went viral due to a crazy mix of social media attention, books, movies, and multiple recent very well-received productions retelling this age-old story for a brand new audience. I mean, who wouldn't go viral if they had that kind of attention? So there you have it. If you enjoyed the video and want more like this, let me know. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because there's a lot more where this came from, here at the Murder Encyclopedia.